one. Hello guys, the DB Grinder here, and I'm here with
Steven.
And what'd you do and what'd you place?
I got top 32 at YCS Minneapolis with Spright. I decided to play the deck because I rather build to beat the low ideal things. I also thought the BC cards are going to be really popular, and this deck does really well into them because you can just gigantic early on and then deal with them later. And so it's just like a deal coverage, and I mean, it might have a bit lower ceiling than tier, but I think that the coverage as well as being a better meta call was a good call, and it worked out pretty well.
Anyone do any shout outs before we hop in?
Shout out to the entire council, Ravina, for all the playtesting, as well as the Hamilton guys, Matt Thomas, Eric Lucas, as well as Thelma for Matt. Then we can hop right in swing. So Spright line pretty standard: 3 blue, 3 jet, 1 red, 1 carrot, 1 pixie. Some people cut down on one of these. They're easy side out targets, and each one has its purpose. So I think game 1's fine. If you fight you don't need another one. Game 2 and 3, then they're easy to take out. I played 3 swap. I don't know if 3 stand over 2. I think 3 should be. The main reason is because of Sprint. I end my board with Sprint a lot, and if you special summon a monster, you get a bounce, which a lot of people don't abuse that effect. So if I end with Sprint Toad, then in your opponent's standby phase, when you pass back, if you can't clear the full board, you just special the 3rd swap, and you bounce something in the standby phase, so you full clean up further. As well as it's just another body because when you're ending with carrots and red and Toad, you have to tribute a lot of monsters, smashes tribute, econs a tribute. So just having extra bodies are really ideal, and it's a good normal summon because it means you don't have to gigantic it out. You can go for other monsters. So I would definitely not ever cut down 3. I almost played dupe, and it may have been fine. There are definitely matches where it came up, especially in spicy. But I think if you have enough optimal play, they don't need to end up playing it. 3 beaver, the double angler. Again, 2 anglers correct. Some people are on 1. I don't think it's right. If you ever draw this, then the entire engine is just awkward. You're playing 3 swaps, so it combos better with it more often. As well as if you open beaver, then the engine's not dead because you just go beaver, summon 1 angler, and then you make sprint, and then send the second one, and then you still got the 2 beavers out. So this lets you always capitalize on the engine. I don't side any of this engine out ever. The 3rd swap sometimes, but definitely not any of the nimbles. And then the 1 lizard thing for the draw, it's just an extra target to summon off gigantic if you already have your frog engine in rotation. Easy side up target as well. Then other engine cards, 3 starter, 1 smasher. The second smasher's in the side. I didn't play the trap. I think it's just too dependent on you having a board. If you are trying to crack back a half board, break half a board on the playback, then drawing the trap is really bad, or having to search the trap is really bad. While searching second smashers is immediate impact. Especially how it lets you play around imperv and Baylor and stuff like that. And then other power spell cards. So I kind of played half power spells, mid-rangey spells and hand traps. I guess we'll hand traps first is more standard. 3 Ash, 3 Bell, and then 3 Imperm. So I didn't play any Bite Seeds in the main because I think everyone was over-respecting them. I was expecting people play rogue decks. I played a bunch, again, 3 flu, so really happy I didn't choose to main them. And it's kind of weird because yes, they're insane versus tier, but they open high spirits and they just play around it anyways. And so you're playing a card to beat a deck that, a third of the time will do nothing. So I think it's just really bad mentality to have. So the Ghost Bell is yes, slightly worse, but they're good game 1, the better coverage. And so I think that this is the better lineup for game 1, and then game 2 and 3 you side them as needed. I didn't play further hand traps because I don't think hand traps are super impactful. They definitely need to just kind of chip away the extra negate so you can actually break some boards, or have the extra negate on top of your board. But I'm not trying to draw multiple hand traps because I think that extra still ending up with enough engine that doesn't do enough. And then, like I said, some power spells, so 3 talents. Even with people not being on as many hand traps as before, I think this is fine. It's good in Spright whether you're even against Runic because they're going to pass it back to you. They're going to use Elf Effect. This is live. People get greedy with buy seeds. You can bait them into it rather than going Ganthet first. You go sprint, and then they waste it, especially if it's a bad one. Then it's really rewarding. And this card performed well throughout the tournament. Maybe less going forward, but it's just a matter of call expecting a bunch of Spright, and I played a bunch, so it was fine. 3 Cosmic. This card was the best card of the day. It's insane every matchup. It's good versus Spright going second. It's good against tier both ways. If you're playing against combo tier and they full combo you, it's yes, you lose. That's just the combo deck of the format. But you can take that game 1 because you can side for it better game 2. But if you're playing against any more mid-rangey build, this answering Sulk just means they have no follow-up, they have no negation, and you just win a game. And it's also insane versus other rogue decks. Then 2 Econ is the only thing I had left in terms of spots. This card was fine throughout the weekend. Again, dodges Sulk. It's okay versus Runic Spright. It performed fine. The other option to put this in for was droplets, but I feel I didn't have enough discard targets that were actually like good to discard, so I just ended up playing this and performed reasonable. Then 2-pot. I hate this card in this deck. A lot of people are like on 3 of this and love it, and I just hate banishing 6. I think you get into grind games when you don't expect it to, and then you're just struggling in the water, so 2's fine. I also think a lot of the side deck isn't cards I need to dig for, so then it becomes less rewarding. Because it's not like I'm trying to dig for a mine and just win off that. Extra deck, 3 elf. This should be standard by now. It comes up along the grind game. 1 Spright, this card's insane. I use the bounce effect of this probably about a dozen times throughout the tournament, and people just don't realize it. And it triggers off any special summon. So if you special summon a monster, you bounce. So if you start into something, you bounce. If you swap off Toad, you bounce. So this is just really good at help clean up the boards further. I very rarely use this overlay into Gigantic. There are times, but the majority of the time I'm leaving this on the board and people just don't respect it. It's also really good versus Runic, because it means if they're going with their first effect to special summon, or if like the negate Toad and Toad's still on the board, then you just bounce the Runic monster and they still have to use another card to get level 2 on the board. Other cards, 1 Dark, 1 Pit Knight. I just wanted a generic card. I hate IIP package. I just think going into Unicorn is like extremely neg, so I refuse to play it. This card's pretty bad right now because of how many quick plays on the format, and it has to be the next chain after like the Alpha uses this effect. But it's just a generic card if I really get there. And then 1 Bougie Link. This card's actually really good. It came up like 3 times throughout the tournament. There are just specific lines that you need this card for. So one of the main ones that comes up is if you open Swap Angler and no Spright cards and no way to get to them, and you don't want to just say agree through Gigantic lines, what you do is you just sprint send the, or it's, I think it's Swap Angler Beaver. You sprint send a Spright, and then you alpha revive back a Spright, and then normally you wouldn't be able to get to swap, but then you just use this instead. It's also good because if you get cherries on this, then you can still make Toad through this, and you have the double negation because you're playing the 3 swaps. So it doesn't come up much. It's not like it's a main combo thing, but it just helps you play through some weird situation boards. So those are like monsters, XYZ, double Gigantic, win the Jin. This is just coverage if you ever get the point to use it. Toad, you're trying to go through this every game, obviously. 1 Soul Super. I was not going to include this card, but the one thing I realized is that a lot of people will play on your turn to some level, and you'll often have 1 extra body when you're comboing. And so you have 2 options with that. You can either bounce it to hand with swap, or you can just make this, clear the monster that they summon on your turn, so you don't have stuff to run over your board, and then just use this from a hero for elf. So I use this more on my turn, like first turn, than I did on like breaking boards. All the breaking boards also comes up, and then Zeus package, good cards. Then side deck, Buy Seeds, good for tier. They're good because now with the main deck you have 6 answers to High Spirits already, so you can't get blown out by them anymore. Like opening High Spirits, you have the answer to that anyways, and then these cards are just insane otherwise. The other cute thing is if people are using Huffiness on your turn, and you open this, then you can banish it, use the effect of Search in end phase, and bounce it to swap. So you're now getting 2 DD Crows off them burning a card, which is insane. 3 Jewels for center decks. It's good versus Pendulum. It's good versus like any of the combo tier. It doesn't stop their turns, but you don't need to stop the turns. You just need to make it to a board that's breakable. And I didn't actually side this thing because I didn't play against much combo tier, but I put this in my event or in my list every single event because you never know when there's be some crazy combo deck that you just sit down and this card just ends the turn. 1 red. This card came up once, I think. It is what it is. 3 Ageki. So the thing with this card is I said this in going both first and second in the mirror, and the reason is that it's either you combo and you win, or they pass back, and generally when they pass back, it's like Zeus Elf with like not Toad, because that like requires a very good hand to play through all your board and to end with that, and so this just answers Zeus on the pass back, and then going second is obviously insane. I think this should have been Lightning Storm, because against back row decks, which a lot of flu I play against would have been better, but it's definitely good for the Spright. And it almost won me top 32 because my opponent had the option of either going red or carrot, and he took a long thought about it and he took carrot, so I lost. But if he took red, then this card just like really just ended the game. It would have been Elf, Red, Zeus, the Jin, just all gone from that. But different timeline. Second Smashers. This card's good in the slower matchups. Also good going first because it means you just have like on the playback you have something to help clear. I don't like the trap, for reasons I said earlier, it's just too dependent on things. And then 3 Magical Deflector. So I was on D-Barrier for a long time, and what I realized is I actually need to stop side D-Barrier versus Spright because it's atrocious. Like they just have enough Lynx plays that D-Barrier doesn't do anything. And so I decided to play this for targeting Runic Spright because I think the Buy Seeds were enough of a target for a tier, so I didn't need to decide in D-Barriers. And the thing with how Runic Tier play or Runic Spright plays is they're gonna lava golem or serial you. Like they're not trying to hand trap you. And so if you set up your board, you just flip this in standby phase. They either play their cards and they're getting negated by Toad's Carrot, they're getting advanced by Sprint, and so they're still trying to play through your board. Or they serial mode you, you add back Beaver, you have follow up, you have all the plays, and they can't do anything for that such turn. I didn't ever do that to a Runic player. There's a few chances to like a trade 1-for-1. It's also fine versus Tier because it hits the field spell, High Spirits, Droplets, the new continuous spell if they play it. So this card just felt fine overall, but it definitely has potential against Runic Spright if I had that matchup more.
All right, is there anything else you want to say before we hop off?
No, I think it's everything.
All right, thank you for the deck profile. Congrats on the top, and peace.